Okay, so welcome out, Tom Karen, for Can't Knock This. Excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So I'll give a little background. So Tom, you are the CEO of Vantage Pest Control, correct?
Yep.
And Vantage Marketing. You work with Terminix and you also in-house your accounts, correct?
Yep.
Cool. So going to have over 500 active reps this year and 80,000 accounts projection this year, which is insane. So
we're on pace for it.
Yeah, congratulations. 2 of those guys will do over 1,000 personal accounts, right?
We have 2 guys on pace. One guy is over 400 serviced right now and another guy right behind him. So it's going to be exciting to see what happens.
Do you think one of them will pass the other one up, or is that like a bloodbath? Or
they're friends. That's what's crazy is they sold in the same office last year.
Oh, really?
So they're secretly competing against each other.
So between 2 guys, you have an over 2,000 account office?
It's on that way, yeah.
That's awesome. So your 17th year in door-to-door. You got back in 2001. Tell us about kind of how you got started into the door-to-door space.
So I had just returned back from an LDS mission.
Where'd you serve?
Nova Scotia, Eastern Canada.
Oh,
so
okay.
I'm
Cold.
from Canada actually, and they kept me in Canada, so
Cool.
nice and cold. And had just gotten back from my mission and was going to school in Rexburg, Idaho. It had just turned into BYU, Idaho. Used to be Ricks College, and I attended Ricks College before my mission and came back. Was working crazy jobs. I was actually working at a potato factory at the time, working at Melaleuca in a call center, donating plasma a couple times a week.
Just scraping by like every college kid.
Donor of the month one month. So just doing what it took to pay the bills, and had a guy knock on my apartment door and tell me about a pizza meeting and how you can make all this money selling pest control. And obviously I felt like that it sounded like a scam, but hey, I'll go get free pizza. So rounded up all my roommates and we went for the free pizza and got sucked into the opportunity.
So where's that guy that knocked on your door? Whatever happened to him?
I haven't stayed in touch with him, but he sold a few years with me.
Yeah, I'm sure that guy's probably like, man, I recruited the owner of Vantage. That's a cool claim to fame. So you started with Eclipse Marketing, right?
Yep.
This was back in the Todd Peterson early stages of
the OGs back then.
Yep, that's cool. So what do you feel like's been your biggest success in your journey?
Never fathomed that we'd get to the size that we are. Didn't even necessarily seek out to become this big, and we established a really good culture early on, and it's just kind of created a machine that's perpetuated itself. So I'm proud of where we're at. It's definitely not about becoming the biggest for us. It's having keeping that same culture and values and not compromising those for size, and I feel like we've been able to do that.
Cool. So what do you feel like your biggest pain point's been? Like, obviously being a CEO, I'm sure it wasn't all rainbows and butterflies. Like,
no.
What was kind of your journey? So you did pest with Eclipse for a few years. What year did you kind of break off and say, I'm doing my own thing?
So I sold with Eclipse my first year out in California. I did well my first year, fell in love with the industry, and kind of knew at that time that I wanted to start my own. Didn't know how that was going to happen and when that was going to happen.
Just young, excited potato farmer.
Stoked, yeah. I made more money than I thought was possible as a young kid, and just loved the industry and the opportunity, and knew I wanted to do it eventually. I managed my second summer with that same company out in Florida. Kind of had a knack for recruited a good sized team, and then my third summer I was going to go back with the company, and then my current business partner Shandon Cole had a little pest control company going at the time called Safeguard Pest Control. They had several offices already up and running, and worked on me and talked me into joining the ranks, and made me a partner at Safeguard. And we grew that company over a 4 or 5 year period, and then sold it to Terminix.
If you don't mind me asking, how much you sell it for?
I was around $30 million.
$3 million?
No, 30.
$30 million.
Yeah, I was a smaller partner of that one. I wish I was
had a bigger pie.
Yeah, I was a minority partner of that one. Shandon had started it with another guy, and it was about a $30 million acquisition. But then we started another company after that called Service Prolana Pest Control, and I had earned my stripes at time and became equal partners with Shandon.
And then you guys flipped and sold that one.
And then we built that one up over a 3-year period and flipped and sold that one to Terminix. And at that time, Terminix approached us and said, guys, instead of building and flipping these, why don't you just sell directly for us and be our door-to-door pest control company? And that was obviously appealing. Anytime a billion-dollar company approaches you and wants you to represent them, you listen, and that's kind of how that came about. But we didn't want to go away from ownership as well, so we still own a bunch of pest control companies called Insight Pest Solutions is our Insight branch, and so we do both in conjunction.
So are you kind of like vector marketing to Cutco or D1 to Dish? Like, are you kind of an exclusive, or does Terminix have, you can actually wear the Terminix brand? That's unique, isn't it?
Yep. They're representing Terminix. It's on their shirt, it's on their hat. They're selling Terminix's service, and Vantage is the only company that's contracted with Terminix to do so. And then our other arm the Insight Pest Solutions.
Cool. I mean, that's unique in and of itself, because I'm sure having some weight to leverage that name. I mean, the largest pest provider, I'm sure that makes credibility pretty easy.
Yeah, the reps love selling the name. You kind of get the best of both worlds. Some reps prefer the homegrown pest control company, or some reps love the name brand, and so we kind of have a home for whatever guys prefer. But we've found that at the end of the day, it's all the same.
You all make money.
We're all banging doors, and if you look at our top offices and top 20, it's half of them are Insight, half of them are Terminix. At the end of the day, it's still grinding, and it's just a name on the shirt. So
you have a different approach where you offer your guys that have been with you a long time ownership. What kind of created that idea to kind of create branch owners, and what has that benefited you guys?
Well, that's how I got my start. So Shandon's model was to offer ownership to guys that came on board and helped recruit a team. And so I had ownership in 6 of the Safeguard branches, and loved that model. Gave a guy like me a chance to own something, and so just paying it forward. The guys that have been loyal to us, that have been with us, and helped us get to the point where we are. I can't take the credit. It's because of them. We would be nothing without them, and so to give them a chance to really own something has been rewarding and fun to see them have that opportunity.
Cool. So what have been some of your, obviously selling companies for 30, and what was your second sell? How much did that go for?
I think it was around 12.
12.
Yeah, we only did that one for 3 years.
Yeah, 3 years. I'd like to sell a company for $12 million. That's impressive. So what were some of the biggest pain points though? Because I'm sure it's not like, okay, I'm just going to start this pest control company and it's going to go well. Like, what struggles did you kind of deal with?
The growth, back in the day when we only had 80 to 100 sales reps, I knew everyone by name. I, knew them very, very well. And so to have this rapid growth over a relatively short period of time, we had to, put a lot of things in place to facilitate it and just make sure we're organized and running a smooth program for them.
What were some of the biggest growing pains looking back? If knowing what you know now, what would you tell your 10-year ago self in this CEO role?
Delegate more. Just a simple task of getting housing for 500 guys. You need a pretty solid team in place just to take on a task like that. On the operations side, we have a really good partner who handles that side of it, the service side for Insight Pest Solutions. He lives out in Raleigh, North Carolina, where our customer call center is. So all of our customer calls go to that call center.
So you didn't have to deal with it here?
We don't deal with any of the servicing or operations here. That's all run out of North Carolina. We've got 100 employees in that call center that deal with the day-to-day pest control operations. So I essentially get to do what I love, which is recruit and train and grow the business.
Are we wrong?
Yeah, we're wrong.
Okay, so how did you... Because at one point you probably wore a lot of hats, right? When you first started, you probably were ops. managing, recruiting, selling. I mean, every hat. But
I give our partners a hard time now because they essentially just have to recruit and train the teams, and not downplaying that. That's a lot of work. But I got thrown into it. I was the branch manager doing the service side. I was the sales manager. I was knocking doors. I was doing it all. We were bootstrapping it.
CRM to
everything.
Service to customer service calls. I mean, you're trying to figure out.
Collections, cancel calls. I mean, everything. We bootstrapped it before we had much capital, before we sold off our first business. So it was a lot.
So how do you go about selecting who to go into bed with? Like, you've got your partner Shandon. But obviously you've had to bring on a few other key players like operations and stuff like that. But like, what did you look for in those relationships?
So guys that came in and built solid teams and did things the right way, kept our same culture, and we've got a lot of great reps that have come and go that we could have done ownership with, but chose not to. We want them to keep our same culture and feel. These guys are, honest and hardworking, and they've sacrificed a lot. They've been with us for several years. A guy couldn't come over and just do it his first year. He's got to prove himself and be with us for 3-4 years before we would essentially get into bed with them and make them an owner.
Cool. So what? So let's talk about recruiting. So we were talking earlier, and you said you kind of have a different approach to recruiting. You've obviously recruited thousands of reps over the 17 years. It sounds like to have a solid 500-600 reps active. I mean, you have to filter through a lot, right?
Yeah.
So what do you do to recruit? Like, what makes you different? How do you do it?
Well, we found out quick that most reps have at least 3-4 years that they're gonna do this crazy summer gig for if they have a good experience, and so we really focused on retaining the core group that we have. I have a couple guys that are still working with us from my first company, Safeguard.
Oh, wow.
A handful of them, 4 of them, that were with us from day one, and they've helped us get to this point. But really retaining the core group and building out from there. And we've had phenomenal retention. We don't lose a lot of reps once they get in the door. We hopefully hold on to them, but just try to take a different approach. Every company is going to boast about they've got the best training or the best videos or the highest pay scale, the best area, the best service, and I'm sure if you hook them up to a lie detector test, they believe that, and we do as well. But we take a different approach as far as just letting them know, hey, you're not just a statistic over here. We care about you, and whether you're going to be a 1,000 account rep or a 150 account rep, you're equally important to us, and your concerns are important to us. We care about you as a person, and we want to get to know you as a person, and that's been a huge benefit for us, I guess.
Yeah, one thing that you said kind of when we were talking earlier that really stood out to me was you physically go out after 17 years, CEO, knock with your guys. I mean, you said you're going to knock with 100 plus, a couple hundred reps this summer, right?
Yep.
So you have your whole summer mapped out already.
Pretty much, yeah.
And you're like, I'm going to this office in Florida and then here next, and you're on the doors in the trenches with those guys.
I love it. I love to get out there and be with them. The industry's changed.
Yeah.
It's constantly evolving, and for me to stay current, I like seeing it firsthand what kind of objections they're running into, and that's helped us. So instead of 17 years ago, it's a much different ball game today. But more importantly, it gives me a chance to get to know the guys one-on-one and put a face to the name instead of just a name on a spreadsheet or in our software. I know this kid, and I've knocked doors with him and got to know him on a personal level, and so it's something that I'll always do. I'll never not knock doors as long as I'm in this industry. It might get creepy after a while, but I'm going to do it, and something I actually still truly enjoy, and we'll always do it.
Cool. How do you stay fresh? How do you I'm sure you're like, oh man, I feel like an old man in this game where you got these like 21-year-old return missionaries coming at it hard, and you're like, man, I got to show them what's up. Like, so how do you get out there? You show up to Florida, you're like, I'm going to be here for 3 days, and you just throw down? Or, I mean, what do you do to get excited?
A lot of energy drinks, a lot of Diet Cokes, but, I'm not grinding all day 8 hours like them. I'll usually get my work done during the day, do a correlation for the team, set an incentive, and try to be on the doors by about 4 o'clock, and I'll hit maybe 4 or 5 reps that night. And I look forward to it after staring at a computer, being on a cell phone all day. It's something I actually enjoy. I don't necessarily dread it. I look forward to going out in the evenings, and it's something fun for me to do. But I figured if I'm already out in the city, I might as well be doing what they're doing.
Cool. No, I mean, that's huge from a leadership perspective. Speed of the leader, speed of the team. They know that, dang, he'll throw down. Tom's the man. Like, he's coming, right?
I can still put a few in every day, no problem.
Love
it.
Yeah. So what do you feel like the outcome of a leader that, you're so high level? What's the outcome when you're with those reps? Maybe it's a first year up and coming future leader, or your top guys or your bottom guys. Like, when you go spend that time with them, like, what does that do for a recruiting standpoint?
I don't lose very many of them. If I've knocked doors with a guy, we've got a bond, we've got a trust, and they feel that. And I think from a retention standpoint, they'll stick with us, start planting seeds early of potential leadership opportunities. And it's fun to see a guy that you went out with who was struggling or just getting started become a manager, then a regional manager, and then become a partner. I can think of several of our current partners who I remember knocking doors with them our very first year, where they were mumbling and trying to figure it out, but seeing where they've come today, it's fun to see.
That's cool. I'm sure you've seen a lot of those success stories.
Yeah.
So what one thing that stood out to me when we were at lunch or whatever that you do is you sit on the dashboards, and when you see a guy at 5 o'clock who's at 5 deals, and you're like, man, if you get double digits, do you do like a little personal incentive? And I'm sure that has a lot more meaning, knowing, hey, this guy actually knows me. He was out there grinding with me. And then when you're behind the scenes, sending him a text, like a little love, hey man, good week this week. Like, if you hit 20 next week, you know what I mean? I'm sure that creates some retention as well.
Yeah, I get obsessed with, I check it 100 times a day to know where we're at. And it's fun to see these guys that I've formed a relationship with do well throughout the day, and so can kind of keep a pulse on how we're doing. And if the office isn't producing the way they should, I can dive in and figure out what's going on. But I guess that's something that I enjoy doing, is keeping a pulse every day of how we're doing. I give daily shout outs, so every morning on our bulletin board, I'm the one that writes the daily shout outs for the company to pick a dozen, 15 reps that did well that day and give them a personal shout out company-wide. And I know that means a lot to them, to recognize them across the company, and to know that, hey, we're watching, we know what's going on, we're not just vacationing. We
summer hits, we're out.
So
that's cool. So what have you done to develop leaders? Because obviously, being CEO and developing hundreds of reps, like, what have you seen that you found effective to take that rep from struggling rep to all of a sudden he's now a partner or manager or whatever?
That's a good question. It's not necessarily always the top sales guys. It's a lot of times the top sales guys have those same attributes and qualities, and they'll make great leaders. But I found even some of our best leaders weren't necessarily our top producers. They were honest. They were team players. They chipped in. They had a positive attitude. Those are the things that we're looking for. Guys that can overcome some adversity, have a little bit of grit, that don't fold up at the first time of trials.
And sometimes those top guys, when they have a rough week, they're like freaking out.
Yeah,
they're the most emotional end of the world.
Roller coaster.
Yeah,
roller coaster.
It's crazy though. Like, if I bageled, it was like, oh my god, like,
what am I doing wrong?
Do I quit? Should I go to a different job? Like, it's like, no, you tasted a little bit of like
with yourself.
You tasted sanity there. Do you have any systems in place that kind of creates a leader in your company? That
we hold monthly manager meetings, so every single month, the first Saturday of every month, we get all the leadership under one roof, and we do a 4 or 5 hour manager meeting, and that's every month. If you're going to be a manager or regional manager, we do regional manager meetings every week, manager meetings monthly, and we do leadership training in there, not just door-to-door stuff, but we learn how to be better men, better leaders. And I think that's made a huge difference.
Cool. What's been some of the biggest nuggets that you found in those leadership meetings that you, like your favorite leadership meeting training that you remember that stood out to you that had a big impact?
Oh, just that this is bigger than just summer sales. Most of these guys aren't going to do this for a living, right? They're going to do this for 3-4 summers and then move on to their career. And so the skills that they're learning now is going to just make them so powerful in what they do next. And that's fun to see, that this is real life skills that you can't learn in a classroom. You're not
School
going
hard
to
knocks.
study it. You're preparing now. And, if I were to make a list of the best 20 managers I've ever had that have gone on and done every other things, I'm sure every one of them are killing it in their own realm. I can't think of anyone who was ultra successful doing this that went on and sucked at life. They went on and did great things, and so that's fun, and it gets me, I don't know, almost emotional to know that we have that opportunity at hand, that if they really seize it and go after it, it's not just about the money they're going to make. It's going to change their life. They're going to go on and do great things.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one of those things that's like, had that dude never knocked on your door for a pizza party and said, hey, come do this pest thing, and you go, that's stupid. You might be... got a college degree and I got this and making $80,000 a year still. Like, you never know, you know?
Never know. And there's plenty of people that have degrees that can't find jobs, and this is an opportunity to really get ahead.
So shifting gears a little bit, what have you done to kind of stay on edge as far as education? Like, what have you done to seek higher education or mentors? Like, who's kind of helped you coach you through this journey?
I never stop learning. I'm humbled by all of the leaders in our industry. I have a lot of admiration for anyone willing to tackle this industry. It's tough. It's unlike any other business, I believe. It's a different animal, and so to learn from the best in our industry, I'm constantly learning from them. I'm a huge motivational freak. Love the videos and books and just that kind of stuff.
What's been some of your favorite books that you've read that's really made a difference?
Probably the first book that really changed my mindset was Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. Got me totally thinking about going into entrepreneurship in a different direction, not following, the set tracks that society puts in front of us.
Well, what did your parents say? Your parents weren't. Your mom was a teacher, right?
My mom's a teacher. My dad farmed and was a engineer, but worked on a family farm as well. And
so, I mean, when they saw you branching out to door-to-door sales, or I'm going to go start a pest control, like, how did they respond?
They thought I was crazy. Yeah, they thought I was crazy. Very traditional, and get a degree, get a job, do this, and I think that's how a lot of us were raised. And I actually dropped out of school to do this. I saw the opportunity and figured I could always go back, but decided that if I was going to do this, I was going to jump in with both feet and make a run at it. So I was a semester shy of finishing, but
It's so wild, I'll be honest. I don't know if you listen to other podcasts. I did one this morning. 3 years of college. Most people, it's 2-3 years and they're done. When you start seeing the light and you're just like, oh, why am I in school?
Yeah, I saw an opportunity and I went after it, and I don't condone
I was like, I don't want to promote that, but it's way crazy to see
how many successful people have followed that path, and that just because you do go to school, that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean you're gonna have this guaranteed job right out of college and jump into high management. And that's what I love about this industry, is it's such a great resume builder. I've just a couple guys I can think of told me that it was what gave them the competitive edge to get into law school or med school. Everyone that applies to med school has a 4.0. What separates you? What makes you different? And I love seeing our guys that did well with this say that, hey, this opportunity gave me the competitive advantage over the other candidates.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't. I mean, like, there's some kids that do this door-to-door thing for, like, a summer, right? They're like, oh, I need something to make money, pay for school. But they don't see it as, like, no, this is, like, where I'm going to learn a skill that, like, not many people have. And I think them appreciating that all summer and saying, I stuck through something hard for 4 or 5 months, and I grinded, and I had to learn how to freaking put rubber to the road and go through the hard days. And I think that any employer that understands that, like, and knows what that takes, like, there's some serious value there.
Yeah.
And that's, like, should be a motivator for reps to be like, I'm gonna stick this out just for that simple fact.
Yeah, aside from the money.
Yeah, aside from the money.
I don't think any rep signs up to do summer sales thinking about the long-term value of it. They want a quick paycheck, and that's probably why. But man, if they really take advantage of the opportunity, it will change your life.
100%. So what do you feel like you could improve on most yourself? Because being successful, I've noticed most people, like, in your shoes, are their worst critics, right? So where do you feel like your biggest improvement needs to happen?
Oh, probably that. My biggest fear is failure, and we're now at a size where logically I know that we're good. We've got a firm foundation. We're not going anywhere. We've got a big customer base. We've got a lot of sales reps, but I still work every day out of paranoia. I still always have anxiety and a pit in my stomach that something could go wrong, and I don't know if that ever goes away, but I guess laying off myself a little bit and realizing that, hey, we got a good gig going, and not to be so hard on myself.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, but, like, I'm sure your brain does not stop.
No.
Vantage. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's just like, what's these reps doing? What are they? What makes us different? How do we improve the business? How do we grow the business?
Around the clock. My wife hates it. I'm under my covers with my phone on, and got my calculator out, or checking out her stats, or making goals. Doesn't stop.
So
Never
that
turns off.
So that leads me kind of the next question, because most high performers, their biggest challenge is balance. And what have you done? And I'm not saying you're the best, but, like, what are things that you've done to create balance with family and personal and work?
I wasn't as good at this when I was younger, but I've gotten wiser in my age, and it's really just turning my phone off. If my phone's on, I can't mentally check out. I feel that if I'm going to miss a text or an email or something important, but for me, just turning my phone off, weekends, Saturday, I'll keep it on until maybe 2, 3 o'clock. This is in the off season. The summer is year round, but the off season, I turn it off on Saturdays, keep it off on Sunday, give my family that time that they deserve. And for me, that's made a huge difference, being able to kind of switch it on and off and give.
And has the business suffered because you turned it off?
No, anything that comes in on a Saturday night or a Sunday can wait until Monday. But you know how reps, if it's on their mind, they're going to text you at midnight or 1 or 11, and it's something that can wait until the next day. And so realizing that that's okay. I can return a text the next day. I can return an email the next day. And that took me probably a decade to learn that.
It's crazy, though. I mean, that is the common pitfall most leaders probably fall into, is they feel like, oh, if I don't text him back, he'll go to another company, or he won't think I'm a good leader. Where I bet you more people respect you for the simple fact your phone is off on a Saturday night with your family than not.
I haven't seen one downfall from it. I am very responsive. I always end my day and make sure I've returned every text and missed call and email, and I don't let my day go by without doing that, but it's okay. Something else is just scheduling date night with the wife. Keep the phone off. We have a date night once a week, and that's our time, whether it's a simple dinner, a movie, or a walk or something. I'll turn my phone off for a few hours, and then I always take a vacation at the end of the summer and one right before the summer. So one with the kids.
It's going to be held during the summer.
Yep.
Cool.
So right before the summer, take one with the kids, and at the end of the summer, I take one with the wife, and that's our time. And we've done that for many, many years.
It's a cool tradition. It's like the summer moon and the summer anniversary.
Gives me something to look forward to, and
that's cool. So going into more selling, and obviously you've sold thousands, I'm assuming, of pest control accounts over the years, but you watch what the common threads between your top guys and your top managers. What would you say some key takeaways are that you've seen makes the top rep? Like what creates the top reps?
Yeah, if I were to make a list of our top reps, they're so different in so many ways. You can't necessarily meet a guy and say he's going to be a top rep. It's guys that don't even fit the mold, that don't look like someone who you would think is 1,000 account rep.
He's a goober. Yeah. All of a sudden he throws down. You're like, where did that come from? And this guy's like the stud muscles, like jock, and he sucks. And you're just like,
yeah, you can never judge a book by its cover. And the guys that you think look like, models, they end up sucking. You just never know. But I'd say the common threads, number one, is attitude, is a strong mental attitude that crap's going to hit the fan. A lot of things happen that you can't control. You're going to have rainy days. You're going to have neighborhoods where people yell at you, or you're going to have techs do something dumb sometimes, or whatever. Things are going to happen that get in your way of hitting your goals, and it's how you handle those obstacles. And the best guys just always find a way over the hurdle instead of laying down and needing a day off because something happened. I had a rep the other day out in Columbus. She got bit by a dog, really bad on the hand. Went out and sold 9 that night.
Really?
And she's a killer.
Well, some reps are going to say, this is an excuse to take the next 3 days off.
Yeah, they're taking a week off. And so I think a strong mental attitude, competitions, fiercely competitive, where you lose sleep if someone outsold you, where it stirs your soul. I'm just fiercely competitive. They respond really well to the competitions, the incentives, a stupid pair of shoes or a new phone or a cruise. They find a way to let those little things motivate them and incentivize them. So being ultra competitive to the point where it's unhealthy.
So how do you get guys to buy into your competitions? Because a lot of times you'll find 50% of the reps are like gung-ho about it, and the other 50 are like, I don't give a damn. It's shoes. Like, I could go buy my own shoes.
Yeah.
And how do you shift that paradigm?
I don't think I've figured it out yet. You always have, that group of reps that just have a bad attitude about it. But I think coming from a company, we hype it up really. We start talking about it well in advance. Like Memorial Day is always our biggest selling day of the year. We've been talking about it for a month. We did 1,900 accounts last year on Memorial Day.
In one day?
In one day.
That's like your average contract value is how much?
$450 to $500.
500 times 1,900. In one day you did. I am just curious to see how much revenue that is. I'm sure you're better at math than I am. It's $950,000 revenue.
Yeah, in one day. So this year I think we'll hit 2,500. I hope so. That always throw out a hazing incentive for the team. One year was I'd shave my head if we hit a certain goal. This year I'm going to wear a Mike Tyson henna tattoo if we hit our company goal, so they enjoy. I'd knock some doors and bicycle shorts.
Oh, so you play the clown.
I put myself up.
You put yourself up.
They like watching me struggle a little bit. But
let's make time.
We hype it up big time, and the results are there, and we tell them about buy into the system, buy into this, believe this is going to be your best day. It's wild how many reps we had hit double digits on Memorial Day. And so I think it just comes from doing your job and hyping it up. And if you're excited about it, they're going to be excited about it.
Cool. Yeah, that's a huge nugget for any manager that's trying to create a competition around a week or a day or a company. It's that culture is what makes a winner and a loser. It's like you have to have the accountability, the recognition. Those are huge, bigger motivators than money, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah, you made $1,000, but you want a pair of shoes, and that's the funny thing about it. I was that way. I remember we had a competition my second summer, and I won the competition. I won a DVD player. And
it's like back then, the DVD player.
I had my best day, 15 that day of the summer, but I had made X amount of money, but I did it for a stupid DVD player and I guess the recognition of winning. And so buying into the competition of it, cool. Turning it into essentially a sport.
Yeah, wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you almost treat your reps almost like athletes? Don't you feel like they're almost
Absolutely.
it's like you can almost have an agent and you're like...
It is. This is our sport. And this is our sport. This is, you can be a pro in our realm, and it absolutely is.
Cool. So what about from like managing area, like how do you guys pick where you want to go? I mean, you're going high level where most reps or managers are like, okay, I'm going to assign this little area. From a company level, you probably have to be a little bit more strategic on how you manage area accounts, your servicing accounts. I mean, how have you managed that piece of your business?
So having the relationship we do with Terminix, we can essentially sell anywhere we want in the country. If there's a city that looks good and we got a manager that's excited about it, we can put them there with a team of guys. And we sell in a lot of little cities where most companies would never open up shop there just because it doesn't have the population.
Send a truck.
Yeah, you can send a big team, but I could have 3 reps there and it's virgin territory and we're the only ones knocking it. And so we probably have 8-10 cities where we might only have 6 reps there, but they don't see any other door knockers, or for pest control anyway. And that's given us, I'd say, a little bit of an advantage being able to sell wherever we want.
That's cool. No, and that probably makes you a unique recruiting tactic too, because you can say, hey, you can go to the Dallas where every pest control in their dog goes, or Houston or whatever, or we could put you in like a Lubbock where not many people want to go.
Beaumont, Texas. I had 2 guys selling Beaumont, Texas before no one had ever seen a door-to-door pest control. Exactly.
I'm sure that gives a little edge to the door-to-door piece. So last question before we go into lightning round, and before I go into this question, I just want to say I really do appreciate your time. I'm sure obviously your phone's probably rang 50 times. It's crazy, like just even talking, it's like, man, you'll see just buzz, and your life's probably just always on the go. So I appreciate you taking the time just to chat and share this knowledge with the space, and I'm excited to see you participate in the Door-to-Door Con, and excited to kind of get the Vantage guys on board there. That'll be fun. But the last question that I stepped into, this is more of a selfish question. I stepped into a VP role and started something from nothing, basically a direct side, and I have found that it's very distracting sometimes because you can have so many different tasks that you're doing. So being CEO, like, how have you managed to say, this is a waste of my time, this isn't a waste of my time, and what do you spend your time on that you found is effective? And
I love freeing myself up to do what I love. I don't want to be bogged down by things that I could hire out where I'm not even necessarily good at it. I like being with the reps. I like training. I like knocking. And so I've freed myself up to do those things that I enjoy. And it's inevitable that, you're stuck doing bank runs or going to the post office here and then, but I'm not above those things. But I do try to free myself up to continue to do what I love, because I do love what I do. I wake up every day and I truly, genuinely love what I do.
Yeah, because that's the thing, is I love to sell, recruit, train, motivate, but I find myself like coming up with CRM crap and website crap and
that's
marketing stuff.
Unhappy is when I'm getting bogged down doing
100 spreadsheets,
and, payroll and things like that, which is inevitable. You've got to do it. You got to be involved. You got to overlook the process. But whatever aspect of the business you love, try to stay in that realm. And I keep going until the old legs give out.
I like that. No, I like that. Just because, like, for you to leave for 70 days of the summer to go knock with guys, I'm like, man, I leave corporate and I'm like, shit has hit the fan. You know what I mean? And it's like, I just need to get better at just being like...
Got a lot of good people in place. I'm a small piece of this puzzle that makes the machine run, but I'm lucky to be able to do what I like in it.
That's cool. That shows true leadership, though. Being able to delegate, being able to, put some hats on other people and do what you love. Okay, so we're going to dive into the lightning round to kind of wrap this up. So these are just one question, one word responses, basically.
Okay.
First thing that pops to your mind. So I kind of ask these same questions to like everyone, and I kind of want to find the commonalities.
All right.
So, what makes a successful salesman?
Attitude.
Book that changed your life?
I'll keep it business. Think and Grow Rich.
Okay. Craziest thing you've ever seen on the doors? Like, to you personally, like just wackiest story or...
I sold a guy naked, like buck naked, and I sold him.
Really?
And signed him up, and he was buck naked the whole time.
Was he an old guy or
Old guy?
Old
yeah.
guy. Love
Good
it.
eye contact.
Yeah, you're like, don't look down. Wow,
Yeah,
you
that
was
was years ago. That was my first summer actually, but.
Oh wow, that's one to write home too.
Yeah.
What skill set should every salesman have?
Oh, being competitive.
Competitive. Okay. Did you get a college degree?
Associates in general education.
Love it.
I'm well rounded.
One word that describes success.
One word that describes success. Ooh. Hard.
Hard. I like that. Favorite cereal?
Captain Crunch.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
What would you do if you weren't a salesman or a business owner?
Probably be a teacher.
Teacher.
Yeah.
Cool. Take after the mom. What gets you fired up?
Hitting goals. Setting a goal and hitting it.
Having the breakthroughs.
Yeah.
Cool. One essential daily activity.
I write my goals in the steam of my glass shower every day.
Really?
Never miss. Wherever I'm at, just been doing it for years and years. I'll write my goals in the steam of the shower every day.
How many goals or how in depth do you go with that?
I've got different goals daily, and then I've got one goal that might be a goal for 5 years straight that I'm trying to keep imprinted in my brain.
That's a cool
weird
thing.
little quirk about me, I guess.
Yeah. What else do you do that's insane that like people think's different? Weird, quirky things that you just do.
I dress like I'm 18. I love wearing hats every day and Jordans and still be me.
Still be you.
That's one of the perks of, I guess, being an owner is I don't have to
I don't
abide by anyone else's set of rules. I can still do me.
Cool. What time do you go to bed and what time do you wake up?
Summers are different than right now. I'm probably getting 5 hours of sleep a night, but in the off season I try to get at least 7 hours.
Cool. Then the last little bit is what if you could give one, like in one sentence, one advice to the entire door-to-door space, what would that be?
Stick to a schedule. Live and die by your schedule. Don't vary from it. The best reps find a schedule that they can duplicate 100 days in a row. A schedule that gets you out of your comfort zone, one that's not easy, but wake up the same time every day. Take your lunch break the same time every day. Take your dinner break the same time every day. Knock your first door the same time every day. Your last door the same time every day. And get obsessed about that schedule. And that's something you can control. You can't control a lot of factors that happen. That's something you can control. It's like on the mission, they had us on a set schedule for a reason. Imagine what would have happened to the work if elders wake up whenever you want, go to bed whenever you want, knock as many doors as you want. It wouldn't have worked. And it's the same with this, is live and die by your schedule. That's why you see such big spikes in numbers, is they might have a good day and then they're going to get a haircut the next day during the middle of it. But discipline yourself and hold to your schedule, live and die by it.
Cool. Well, I appreciate it, Tom. I really do. I feel like, I haven't known you really in the past. I've obviously know Vantage, and it's fun to kind of get to know you, and I hope that we can build this relationship and it kind of see where it goes from there.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Cool. Thanks a ton. Well, man.